Call order this council meeting to discuss the reconstruction concepts for the Wilson Pool. Today is Monday, June 17th, 2024. Like a roll call.
Ms. Barron,
Here.
Mr. Panza,
Here.
Mr. Ray,
Here.
Mr. Romanovich, Ms. Schwartz,
Here.
Mr. Tarosi, Mr. Tintori,
Present.
Mayor Shank.
Present. Now, I will hand this off to Ms. Barron to coordinate the efforts of this meeting. We do have a guest, Brent Boyer. We know you're there.
We have our hearings first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize. If there's anyone who would like to address council before we start. Okay. Sorry, well, we'll move now
Wait,
to,
excuse me. I would like to say something if I could.
well, by all means,
Thank
step up and you
you.
know the drill.
So weird.
It's hard to see, sorry.
Didn't recognize.
Okay. Of course, with the string in the way, I'm going to have trouble seeing you folks. You're going to have trouble seeing me. But
As long as we can hear you all that.
yeah, I think you should be able to.
Okay, just fine.
All right. Okay, first of all, just for everyone's information, this meeting was not advertised on the borough website. The agenda was not listed on the borough website until this morning. I checked over the weekend numerous times to see whether it was on the website. It was not. I understand Friday morning, it was not even advertised on the bulletin boards in the building. So this meeting was not advertised. 10 o'clock this morning, I noticed it was still not advertised. I called the borough at approximately 10:30, and thankfully the agenda was posted by 11 o'clock this morning. I'm not trying to get anyone into trouble. I'm just pointing that out. This meeting may be improper, and perhaps the vote has to be postponed and the motion tabled and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, more to my concerns about these swimming pool designs. First of all, I believe some of these swimming pool designs are significantly bigger or somewhat bigger than what we currently have, which would, I think, require there to be less grass. And I think we're all concerned about the water and we're not thinking about the grass. So there may be less grass, and not everybody spends all their time in the swimming pool. They spend time in the grass or go back and forth. Also, room needs to be made to perhaps expand or replace the pump house or whatever, operates the filtration equipment or whatever they call it. And I'm curious as to whether any of these pool designs have been shown to the swimming pool manager, the swim team coach, water aerobics instructor, or anyone else for comment or input, other than just the citizens. For instance, maybe the pool manager would have a comment on the design, or the water aerobics instructor would have a comment or whatever as to how suitable one design or another might be for what they use to function, how they use the pool. Also, the designs of the pool, it's not quite clear. Of course, some of these questions I have perhaps could be answered by the gentleman from the pool design company. Also, it should be considered, it's nice that we finally got a spreadsheet that shows everything. I think maybe additional columns need to be added. So for comparison, such as the number of lifeguards that each particular pool would require, and also concerning like the pool manager, what about sight lines? For them to be able to see if anyone is, in trouble in the water or whatever. Any comment they might have as to sight lines. Also, there's been a lot of discussion about the deeper end of the pool and the diving board and the swimming lanes, but not, I don't think, adequate discussion about the shallow part of the pool, which when I mean that, I mean 5 feet and under in the main pool. And, particularly what percent of the area of the pool, in the existing pool is devoted to shallow water, and what percentage of the pool area is devoted to shallow water in the new pools under all these designs. And I believe this is significant for a very important reason. And that is, if it's my understanding, AGA requires us to have zero entry in a portion of the new pool. And I know that's the law and all that kind of stuff. But that has to be taken into account, because the portion, as I look at these diagrams, the area of the pool that would be devoted to the shallow entry would be useful to get in and out of the pool, obviously, but otherwise relatively functionally not useful, because you wouldn't be able to swim on that ramp, you wouldn't be able to doggy paddle on that ramp, you wouldn't be able to sit on that ramp, those kind of issues. So, or do water aerobics on that ramp either. So whatever percent of the pool is devoted to that ramp in each of the designs is relatively not useful. And it would be like, as I heard the pool management fellow describe it, that it's sort of like walking in at the beach. And as you walk into the water at the beach, it gets deeper and deeper, it's up to your ankles and it's up to your knees, so on and so forth. So, from looking at the diagrams on the computer, there was a power outage this afternoon. I had some trouble looking at them as a result. Here at the library, there was a power outage. But anyways, it appears it's an unknown distance until it gets to about 3 feet of water. And so I don't know what that distance is under the various diagrams, but that should be considered in terms of the size of the pool. So that's another concern I have regarding the zero entry. Also, it would be difficult to do water aerobics in that area of the pool where they have this ramp. I'm also concerned, there's been some discussion about having water features, I'll call them. I think in the diagrams they're described as being sprays or something. And I understand in the past from the representative from the design company that could be optional. However, one of my questions is whether they spray water. If they say they spray, then I think there's plumbing that causes them to spray water. So obviously, you would want to put in the plumbing for those when you built the pool. And so you can't decide them afterwards. And then also, if you put them in at the beginning and then discover that they're obstacles, I consider these water features potential obstacles that would decrease the amount of the shallow end of the pool that could be used. For instance, for water aerobics, you would, just to do a demonstration, you would be doing your calisthenics or something, you could bump into one of those water features. Also, if you decide to remove them, then you have these pipes sticking out of the ground, and then you'd have to, turn off the water, to redo the plumbing or, redo the bottom of the pool or whatever you'd have to do that. So I think a decision should be made on that. They would be in the way of water aerobics, and also I think they could be in the way of the lifeguards being able to see people that might be in trouble in the water. And that's another reason why I think lifeguards and pool managers should be consulted about these designs. And also, the water aerobics instructor, I also think having these water features would require the number of people to attend water aerobics class to be decreased potentially, because there would not be as much room for people to do their calisthenics. So I think that's a concern. Also, they could be, and it's another reason why I think a pool manager should be involved. Perhaps there are safety risks, not only for drowning, but they might be a safety risk that the children might want to climb on these things, and they could fall off them. And if they would fall off them, they could fall onto someone else or get injured. I mean, even if there's water. And so because of these concerns, I think that the vote on this maybe needs to be postponed for a second reason. And that these questions like this need to be answered. I don't think they're unreasonable, particularly concerning the zero entry and what distance would be lost because of this. My understanding is it goes from 0 to 3 feet. So, and I don't know how long that takes. In the current pool, according to the diagrams that I saw, as soon as you jump in, you're in 2.5 feet of water. As soon as you go down the ladders, the shallowest end or whatever, you're in 2.5 feet of water. That wouldn't be the case as soon as you start walking into these swimming pool designs. And I understand that's a limitation of the law, but still that needs to be considered as to whether, adjustments need to be made. And so I think what percentage of the pool is being devoted to shallow water compared to the old pool needs to be considered. And then also, I just want to note that I'll be available after the meeting if anyone here, wants to discuss any of this or whatever. But I would suggest, that the, vote on this be postponed until, this meeting could be properly, announced. And also that, these concerns could be addressed. And the borough, I know you might not be required to do so, but the borough should do a better effort to perhaps, not that I want to talk bad about my fellow attendees, but more people might be here at the meeting if there was more publicity. For instance, there could be a sign put at the swimming pool saying there's a meeting in a week or, 2 days or whatever. And that way the people who go to the swimming pool would see this. There could be signs posted all over the place that this meeting was mentioned when I was here at the council meeting at the beginning of June. I don't have the exact date. That's how I knew it was going to be held tonight. But until this morning, I didn't know that it was even happening, for sure. So I called the borough. I checked the website and I had, checked the bulletin board. So I just want to note those things. And I'm sorry it was taking up so much of your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You want to address anything, or we're just gonna address this?
So I will tell you,
For sure.
hopefully everybody can hear me. So the meeting was posted on the website. It was posted and the purpose of the meeting was posted on the website. What I just found out that was not posted, which traditionally is posted on Friday, is the actual agenda. But the posting did say that we were discussing and selecting concepts. If council's not comfortable with the vote, I would be, lean on the side of caution and suggest we can just postpone the vote until July 1st, which is only 2 weeks away.
If I could respond to that,
Excuse me,
if I.
she's up, hold on a
Oh,
minute.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Pardon me. I thought you.
Sorry, no,
I just wanted to make a comment about that.
okay, what would you like?
Can you please come to the microphone,
Yeah,
because we
if you-
are on
Yeah, we need-
Zoom, so we want to make sure everyone's.
Right, you need to come up here and,
Sure, I just wanted to respond to that, and I'm sorry if I interrupted. And that is, it says under that section of the website, it says agendas will be posted 24 hours in advance of the meeting. That was not done. The agenda was not posted 24 hours before the meeting. So I think that is a significant fact, whether it was posted somewhere else. The website says, when you go under agendas, it says it'll be posted 24 hours in advance of the meeting. So I think it's, with all due respect, irrelevant whether it was posted anywhere else. I believe she just said the agenda was not posted. So I think that, I just wanted to make that comment. And I'm not
Thank you.
trying to cause any problem.
totally understand, thank you. Okay, you wanna go on, Shane? Pardon me?
Can you also come to the microphone?
Yeah, could you go to the microphone?
Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
Here. Kim, how many people in this Zoom meeting, how many are here right now?
So if I pull that up, all of the names will go up on the screen. So I don't know if we want to do that.
At some point, once the screen's off, you tell us at some point how many people are.
We could
I
probably
can-
ask Brent, can he see it?
It's sharing his screen, so,
We'll let you know.
yeah.
That's fine. And the second question is, Mr. President, do we have, towards the latter part of the meeting, after we discuss, do we have some more citizen input? I mean, they might hear some things from us. Olga made excellent points there. There might be some other people after our discussion.
We will,
Request.
we're gonna have the discussion of the construction concepts now, and that will include additional, we can have more people talk. And then we'll get to the second part of it, which, we might decide to move that to the first anyway, so.
Thank you.
So Mayor, I am able to see right now, it shows 16.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, 15, okay.
Yeah.
So just as a, point of order, when, are we gonna open up comment to public after?
That,
Not during.
not during it, but the discussion part does include that part
Before.
before we get to five, yeah. So we are ready to begin the discussion of the construction concepts. And we do have Brent Boyer from Aquatic Facility Design attending via Zoom. We'll hand that over.
Okay, Brent, are you ready?
Yes, we're here. Can you Kim, put us up on screen?
Yeah, you're on the
Yeah.
screen.
Hello there. Thank you. We discovered when we were working through this earlier this morning with Kim that we are on a delay. Apparently, the audio comes through in real time, but our movements and pictures have about a 15-minute delay. So when you see me move on the screen, I did that 15 seconds ago. Or same when we put something, a picture up on the screen.
You're looking good right now, actually.
Yeah, it looks like you might be in sync right now.
Yeah, I don't, no, it's not. Because it may seem that way, but it's just coming through. But the again, thank you all for being here. We're gonna run through some concepts. Judy had helped narrow down. We had provided, I think, around 12 concepts.
Exactly.
Throughout this process early on until now, and she narrowed it down based on some of your comments from the last session to 5. So what we're going to do is go through these 5. We'll spend as much time or as little time on each that you like, and I'll give a brief description, and then I'll kind of offer, if it's okay, my personal commentary to each one, how I feel about them. But that's just how I feel about them. Our goal is to bring Green Tree the facility that you want, but our expertise and our insight will just offer up, and you can use that as you like. I heard the comment about the beach entry from the gentleman. I want to explain that these concepts are all what we call multi-use concepts. They are intended for a wide range of people to use them in the community, from young to old, and all different types of activity levels. As far as features like blocking visibility or being safe and things like that, we make certain that is not the case, but they are present. It's always a dilemma when anytime a community starts from scratch like this, what you want to prioritize. Because if you want to prioritize on competition, and you want to prioritize on fitness, and you want to prioritize on play, etc., you'll have 3 pools, and you'll keep on going. So, and then the dollar figures just run out of sight. That's not typically possible for most communities. So what you do is you wind up with these designs, which try to accomplish them all as efficiently as you can. And that's what we think these concepts do. Now, one thing I'll mention too about the beach entry is by code, you don't have to have a beach entry. Okay, you can have like a ramp or a lift or so on as a primary. But what we find is in a community and in a multi-use pool, the beach entries simply work the best. And what they do is they give you a varying depth of water to play on, to sit on, to lounge in, and we even find some different fitness instructors, depending on how they run their class, will use the varying depths of water and so on. So it is different than what you have, but that's why we arrived at where we're at. So we'll start going through this one at a time, and we'll stop and answer questions as we have.
I think that we will go through, and during this time, council can ask our questions. And then after we go through them, we can open and have additional questions and comments from the audience.
And what I'll do is I'll kind of stop on each one if council has questions, and then when we get to the end, then we can always go back to each one. Okay, but again, this is narrowed to 5 by yourselves at this point, so that's how we have the 5 we do. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the presentation now. And we're definitely on visual delay, because like I just took a drink a few seconds ago, and now you'll see me. You would have seen me like take a drink. So now the other problem that creates is, I usually use the mouse to scroll around, point to things on the picture. That's probably going to be delayed as well, but we can talk through that. Okay, so
Everything is well.
click on this.
Your voice, your movements are synced.
Okay, evidently through the wiring system between here and there, we appear on your screen 15 seconds behind what we actually do on our end.
Yeah, see, I changed that picture about 15 seconds ago. Okay, so here you have your existing pool. Your main pool area is 7,500 square feet. And as you were aware, you have no beach entry in this pool. You have the six competition lanes, and varying depth. You have the 1 diving board. And the reason, again, for anyone who's missed that, the reason for replacing this is your concrete is just decayed heavily and throughout beyond repair, where the structure is failing and will soon fail totally, that it's not usable. So the town is trying to plan ahead of that. Okay, I'm going to go to the first concept. That's your existing pool. Okay, this is similar to your existing pool. This concept was arrived at, whereas back a little bit ago, when there was kind of a lack of a narrowing of the focus of what you were looking for, we threw this in as kind of a nostalgic nod to what you have. It's basically what you have now, only it's a beach entry on the end. Where you see that green stripe on the end is the beach entry. So you go from 0 depth down to about 4'6" near the slide area, and then you go down to 10 foot at the dive for a 1 meter dive. It's just varying depth beach entry. You have a variety of play features. We have some slides at the end of these with 2 of these concepts that will show you up close more of these features, more details of these features. But you have floatables in the middle, you have standing tall sprays, and you have your dive and your competition. You also have a separate wading pool in this concept, because you do not have a depth restricted area in the main pool for toddlers and little ones, and that's important to have. Now, my comment about this pool would be that, again, I'm just going to throw my personal takes on all of these to you as we go. I think this pool is a little too large for you. That's my personal view. It got larger than your old pool because to fit in the space that you had, and to take this this ramp to beach entry, that really added a lot of length to it. So you wound up bigger than your old pool, and what that will translate into is that you're going to have we could run into issues. For example, when you want to reuse the spaces like you have now in your filtration room, going to a larger pool may mean that we will have to enlarge something in that area. So I think this one's a little bit overly large, just in my opinion. And do you all have Judy was nice enough to put together a on top of our presentation, she put together a little comparison sheet for you. Do you all have a copy of that?
Yes, we do.
Okay, and then you can see the pricing of these. Where is our comparison sheet?
This one is at 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 to 3.75. I believe. No.
Just a fundamental question on pricing. Can you help us
3.5 to 3.75, okay?
understand-
Now, I want to mention something else about the beach entries to the gentleman who commented early on. It's on here, so.
Oh, excuse us, we have, just a quick question real quickly from, Mr. Ray.
Sure.
Are audio delayed to him?
No.
No, okay. So I have a fundamental question regarding the pricing, the estimated costs. Can you help us understand just fundamentally how you come to the pricing? Because you mentioned C1 is, I believe, one of the larger designs, but it comes in at the lower price tag. So can you help us understand why that might be?
Yeah, I wish I could say there's an exact science to this, but it's really just, there's a lot of factors. Complexity is one of them. Size sometimes comes second to that. And this, I wish my mouse would move in real time for you, but you'll
We're
see.
seeing it here in real time.
It is in real time.
Well, because my mouse will move later than I talk, I think.
Not for us. You're.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Okay.
They're just 15 seconds behind.
We're not
So,
behind at all.
okay, so everything is coming through. Alrighty. So, in the main ramp portion there, it's just an open flat floor, which when you pour that, it's got a double pitch. It pitches one direction and then it slants it pitches down towards the slide, and then it slants over towards the race lanes as well. So that's very simplistic design, but it has a range because it's hard to say exactly how that can be viewed. The prices, and I keep stressing this in the last meeting, and Judy, when we talked, the estimates are the most difficult thing of this today. After the pandemic, things have become very haywire, and it's not the same players. They change from region to region, and even within the same region, in the Pittsburgh region, for example, we get different players every time a pool comes out at a variety of prices. So we try to take a median price to those things based on the complexity, based on the size, based on the features that go into them, and that's our estimate, but they are only estimates. Okay, so that's how that arrived at. These things with swimming pools are not like you can put them in a means cost book and so on. Not that those always work anyway, but in this industry, there's no such thing. It's just a feel for it.
I understand what, that these are just estimates and there's market conditions that affect the estimates. I'm just trying to just understand the cost estimates that you gave us relative to the other cost estimates that you gave us. So there's a wide range, and you put, you put that in this document. So I'm just trying to understand the cost estimates relative to each other. So it doesn't appear to be size, because some of the larger ones are less than some of the smaller ones. So I'm just trying to understand.
Well, this one's up to 3.75. I think the least that's on here is 3.5.
So my understanding for this one is that it is a less complex pool to build because it only has the 2 different pitches. Is that correct?
Yes, because you have see, when you get larger like that on that larger flat, you can use different means of construction where you're pouring a large flat like that on a pitch. It's actually easier sometimes in a smaller one because of the methods you can employ.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, I was going to mention for the gentleman that spoke from the public a minute ago is that the distance of a ramp is not in every case, but most cases, if you're going from 0 to say 3 feet, 36 inches, you're typically on a 1 in 12 pitch. So if something goes from 0 to a 3-foot area, you can figure basically that you've run 36 feet. Now, the variable to that is there's above the water, there's a height of 4.5 inches on these gutter pools. So you're a little bit beyond that, but that's a rough figure for you to tell for the distances. Okay. All right, we'll go to the next concept.
We're on C2 now.
You're gonna have to go to the square box on the left and the bottom. To go full screen.
Here.
No further, over here.
Okay, that's an overlay. You can see your old pool was shaded in pink what you were. You can see the change in position. Same as the wading pool. Okay, here we're on concept 2 now. This Z shape is beach entry with a handicap ramp down into it. You have competition in the center. What is the length of our lanes here, Tom?
Those are 50 or 25 meter.
These are 25 meter or meters on here. So you have the 6 competition lanes and you have then the diving well over here. Now, in this concept, we show 3 things. The way this is explained in this concept, all your possibilities are shown. Really, you would have either the dive and possibly your climbing wall, which climbing wall here, or your slide. In the next concept we're going to show, we split them up to show what it would be if you moved them to a different way. We did a spin on this concept of the next one. But you have beach entry down to about 3'6", because in this one, your lanes are from 3'6" to 4'6". Okay, you're 3'6" on this end, 4'6" on this end. Now I'm going to go back because I forgot to mention something on the last one. Here we were, what were we here, Tom? We were 4 to 6. This one was 4 foot to 6 foot of depth. Okay.
It's deeper than that with the diving well.
Yeah, it's actually deeper because you have the diving well on this one. So we're at 4 to 10 roughly in here.
I have another question.
Sure.
What is the minimum depth required to be able to dive into the pool?
From a platform, 4 feet.
Off a swimming, diving block for racing.
Correct.
So 4 feet?
Yes.
Another question. One of the things that I talked with our swim coach, they were concerned about that 4 feet being a little low for the flip turn. That, because right now what we have is what, 10 or 11 to 5.
And we can't dive in the 5 feet.
Right, well, they can only, they don't, yeah, they only dive in from the one side, so. Is there a possibility, I mean, with all of these, with the swim lanes, I know the concern is that 4 foot, big time.
Well, because we currently don't dive in 5 feet because it's too
Yeah.
shallow.
Right.
But they're saying that we could.
But we could, but one of the things with, I feel like that loses the functionality of that section of the pool then would go to 6.
These are going to vary from concept to concept. Excuse me, and we'll show you that. Don't forget here on this one, you're diving in at 4'6" on this end.
And back on your original concept, those race lanes on the shallow end, when we field measured them, were 4'6". And there's a no diving criteria under 5 foot from the deck. So your pool is actually too shallow to dive in on by standard codes at that shallow end.
But
Did you say the minimum is 4 foot?
4 foot from starting blocks in competition. But deck diving is 5.
Help me understand that. If you're standing on the apron of the pool, it's 5 feet.
4 foot. You
That
said
would-
diving block is 5. And the deck is 4. Right?
Could you explain that again?
Competition at 4'6". Before.
Okay, so you're from 3'6"
From the
to
deck.
4'6" on this one, and the reason for that is 3'6" here on this pool is the length of this and so on. There's no waiting, so you're just walking into this. You're just walking into this. So we didn't want to get too deep over here or your play area is going to be too deep. Okay.
Okay, I'm not sure if maybe there was some. What is I'm confused. What is the minimum required depth for diving off the deck and then diving off the block?
For diving off the blocks, 4 feet. All right, you 3-5 on
That doesn't make any sense. You just
that. You 3-5 on the deck.
No, it's
5 feet on the deck, yeah.
Don't ask me.
Yeah,
why there's-
4 feet off the blocks is your minimum.
It's obscure why off blocks. USA is 4 foot for starting, minimum depth for starting, but yet. The ISPSC code is 5 foot for diving off the deck. I can just refer you to those two code books
Yeah.
and regulations, and I can't tell you why it's juxtaposed from what our logical brains do.
Okay,
I think we need to investigate that a little bit more. There might be some local regulations for competition.
I can ask Jack.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. I saw him tomorrow, so I can check it out.
Less than 5 feet when they're diving off the deck.
So you're saying it's 4, 6 off the deck?
yeah, 4 foot off of the step, off of the
4 foot off the block.
So if we had.
4 foot off the blocks.
Would that be?
Yeah. I don't,
enough for that?
we looked at today.
And then you have your wading pool down here, your beach entry down to 18 inches, which maximum depth for a kiddie pool, and you have seating in your children's pool. Now I'm going to jump ahead to the next one because it's similar to this with a different spin. Here you can see the overlay from your old to this one.
So another question on the C2, so that the first diving lane, the first one from the left. You're saying the depth there is 4 feet.
Correct. They're all 4 feet along the end.
So it goes from.
Well, not at the diving end, at the shallow end. At where your blocks are, you're 4'6".
He's on back on C2, I think.
Yeah, you're back on the first one. Which is very similar to this one that we're on now, but at your diving off end, you're at 4'6".
I don't have, do we have this one?
Yeah, C2,
C2 alternate.
which is almost identical to C2.
C2 alternate. It shows.
It's almost identical. It just has a bump out on the upper, on the
Yeah,
top
where
left
there's
side.
Yeah, but it's a little bit different because the slide, what I'm looking at is at a corner from the stocking board. And on the one that he's showing, the slide is opposite the diving board.
Oh, yeah. Judy, is this what he had emailed? Judy, is this what he emailed?
So could we? I don't know which one.
I can't fully hear the question.
Hey,
So
Brian,
the
Brian, it's Judy. Can you please go back to the C2 alternate, the original C2 alternate? I'm not sure what this one is, but that's not the one that's in the packet.
No,
C2 alternate, the original C2 alternate that you provided, it has the sun shelf bump out on the top left side. And the diving board is on the right, and the swimming or the The slide is on the bottom right.
This is that C2 alternate. It had to change just a little bit.
Well, we don't have that, so.
It's in what we send. It should be in your, we resent your everything back. It should be in what you have there.
Yeah, the one we're looking at, C2, the slide is catty corner from the diving board,
And the rock walls across.
and the rock wall is across from the slide. The one that you're showing, the slide is across.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Now, we sent what you're looking at on the large screen, or what I guess you council folks can't see on the large screen. We
I
did.
can see one, I can see one.
Okay, we did send that back. It should be in your packet, but all we did was move the dive around the corner, or the slide around the corner, to show you what the other option was on the same concept for both.
And if I may say, just, you know, we could spend a lot of time on this, but I think one of the things that, you know, council was universally in favor of was not locating the lap lanes in the middle. That was a priority
Yeah.
expressed by the swim coach, so,
Yes.
you know, while we can look at this, I do not believe
was
this was
not-
of any interest to council, so, you know, I don't wanna waste everybody's
It was
time.
not of interest to our
Yes.
community, to
Right,
the,
it's an option.
Yeah.
An option recommended by the aquatic architect, but I think for what Green Tree needs and is, you know, more in favor of is not to go with the concept where the lap lanes are in the middle, so.
Okay, well, we'll move ahead then.
Okay, but were there any other changes to the other designs that you sent over after? So we
No, what we did on this one was that we
Yeah,
to
but
show you.
the other
Are there
design.
any other design changes?
No,
Okay.
to show you the alternate, this one goes from 4 feet to 6 feet. Instead of 3.6 to 4.6. Okay, we're gonna jump ahead because it sounds like you're not really interested in this one.
And researching, there's all different standards for starting.
Yeah.
The international standard is 4.5 feet. The NCAA is 4 foot. The United States Swimming Association is,
Yeah, it's all over the place.
and the YMCA requires 5 feet, and the American Red Cross requires 9 feet. So, I mean, when you go,
There isn't.
there's no set.
Well, NCAA and those other ones, it seems like those are experienced swimmers that know how to
Yeah.
dive properly. Kids.
And they said they said to be totally safe, it should be.
Okay, here 4 to 6.
At the dive end.
No, and for starting.
Yeah, that's like, yeah, where you would dive.
Yeah, the most shallow start you have on any of these was 4'6", which was that first one. Okay. Here, this is, I jumped ahead now. This is a concept that after the last meeting you guys designed. Okay. And what it did was it put your diving well over here and your lanes to the side. And these lanes are from 4 foot to 6 foot. 6 foot on your start, 4 at the turnaround.
Okay, I have somewhat of a major concern with this one. The amount of space that is being, so where the slide is, right? The slide, you only need, I'm assuming where that blue box is, that blue box, that's the required space for exit out of the slide. Is that called out?
Where is it? I couldn't fully hear.
Yeah, that your area of influence for the safety zone of the slide is that smaller, the 2 blue boxes, as you called them, on that deep well of the pool.
So then I assume we rope off between the slide and the diving board.
Yes, for safety, absolutely.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
My issue is that we have pretty big chunk of water space that could be unused.
Yeah.
In your competition area, you mean?
No, just
At
in
the
the
deep
general
well?
day.
I mean, between, so what do you call it, the zone of influence where you exit out of the slide, that blue box with the line that runs parallel with the rest of the length of the pool, that white space between the blue line and the red roped off area, segregating the deep well from.
In front of the slide, that's true, but you have to have the well that long because of your dive then.
Right, but it's unused, that becomes unused space. Right?
Correct. Well, kinda, yeah, correct. I mean,
It's only being used for a single purpose.
it's not optimum used. It's, people may go off the slide and swim all the way out to that next ladder, same as at the dive and so on, but here. Now this, of course, you don't have a beach entry, you have steps down this end. And then this slopes down, you have more of the play toy features, more of the floatables, basketball and so on. And then you have the separate competition, which gives you that ability to walk the one lane as opposed to the others that were in the center. And you can do lap swimming over here and so on, but you see it's a fairly large pool and the price goes up. Because of this design, then we had to have, a larger area in here to fit these pitches together and et cetera, to make all the depths work to come together. Same wading pool. Let's go to the last one, which I understand was your favorite, and then we can come back. There you see the change of footprint.
Question about the diving board, because this is the.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Sorry. The diving board placement is questioned because we rope off only 1 or 2 lanes while the pool is open to the general public. Those racing lanes are not all in place all day, every day. With the diving board in the center of all 6, that eliminates the ability for any of those laps and lanes to be used during general operating.
No, it keeps,
Which one could you keep open? Because I thought you had to have a certain amount of space.
it's blocked off already.
See the blue line?
Yeah, see that blue line around it?
What is she talking about?
So you have to.
Wow. Are you talking about on C12 now?
At
Yeah,
any time.
C12, because that's the one thing, the placement of the diving board is my concern.
So my understanding, because of where the deep well is in the blue, it actually would allow us at any given time to have 4 lanes open. And it does give us, because the deeper end of that, of where the diving board is the deeper end. So the other side would allow us to, do some roping on the other side and have, some additional, like blocked areas of the pool. It's flexible, is what I'm trying to say.
And then how, I see 2. How
There's-
do you see 4?
There are 2 on each side.
Oh, okay,
If
but
you did-
we talked about only doing one side.
Yeah, you could just do 2
Yeah.
on the far side, or you could have 4 open at any given time.
Yeah, but
You would have to.
2 lap lanes open,
You would
I'm
have,
saying 2, which should be enough.
we couldn't have 4 because you have to get out of the pool, so you would have to.
Yeah, you can't do that, like.
Oh, yeah, you would have
You
to have 4
3
inside,
three
yeah.
max.
Yeah.
With the diving,
Mhm.
and the diving board would be removable for meets.
There is no center lane there. There's 6 lanes.
Yeah, 3.5 feet, so we're getting our starts, yeah.
Now, this design was arrived at largely because of your desire to be able to walk the length of one side. Okay, keep in mind then the only drawback to that is when you're diving, okay, you are not really able to use this portion of the pool for something else.
Judy just said there'll be 4 lanes open when they do that.
I can't hear you.
So Judy, I think they figure there'll be 4 lanes open and still be able to dive.
You would not be able to,
Yeah, we realized that. I saw something as a ladder, I misread something as a ladder.
yeah, you wouldn't be able to swim laps in here and dive.
Well-
The first 2 lanes you can swim laps,
Yeah.
correct?
Those Z-shaped ones, that's the benefit of that style is your deep well is separate of your,
Are you saying that in C12, that in lanes going from left to right, lanes 1 and 2, you cannot swim laps?
here.
Yeah,
No, you really should not, because you want to have a diver to be able to go either way to get out. It's not considered good practice or optimum safety to have them only be able to go one direction.
Well, yeah, so
Yeah.
I thought that as long as the deep well was secured, we were okay. So what if would we be able to move, like you did in the one we were just talking about before? What if we moved the diving board to that wide open side? Is that something, if we just moved it like 90 degrees? So
Which-
that I'm looking at it, it was at the,
which- Are you talking about this concept?
looking at C12, yeah,
We put it where it was before.
yeah.
If you did what again, please?
to move the diving board to where it currently is.
Move it over here,
Move it over there.
right, and you'd have to,
Yeah.
Yeah, like in there, yeah.
Yes, Brent. Yes, so the bottom right side, so the outside right side of the lap.
Move it over in here.
Mhm.
Well, you're just diving out across the lanes then. I mean, you can in theory do what you're saying, but I don't recommend it. It's not good to have anything going on really.
Well, we wouldn't have anyone diving in those lanes when that's happening. They would be then doing their laps in 1 and 2, if I'm looking left or right.
I'd rather have you leave it the way it is and rope these 2 off than dive out.
I'm sorry, that's why we got confused, because we thought you were telling us that if it was in this center where it is now, none of these lanes could be used when the diving board was in session.
That's what I said. I'm not recommending that you do that. It's not that you can't, but I don't recommend it. You see where the box goes across the line a little bit? You can widen this center tranche a little bit so that doesn't fall in there, but it's not recommended that you're diving out and limiting where the diver can go to get out of
So it
the
would
water.
be road.
Can you go to our existing pool diagram, please?
Yeah, you do that currently, I think.
Yeah.
Right, so we have lanes 1 and 2 open. The bottom right corner of that deep well is used for just general swimming in the deep. And then we go out the diving board and exit to the right.
Right, and I realize you do that. I'm saying that's by standards of the day is not recommended. But you can do it, but it's not recommended.
Is there any way you can make C11 like 1,000 square foot smaller, and then everyone would be happy?
That's what C12.
And cut off $500,000.
That's what C12 is.
No, C11's not what C12 is. Everyone likes C11, but it's just a little, well, almost everyone likes C11, but it's a little larger than we need. But can you make the design on C11 meets all of our expectations, except it's about 900 square feet too large.
Well, the only way, I'll tell you, the only way really you can shrink it, okay, this is competition size, so you can't make that smaller, okay?
Yeah.
This you could make more narrow if you get rid of your slide, because you could just have your dive. And that would narrow up some of this, but then it'll play into how your pitches. Don't forget, underwater, you can't have like ledges and things. They have to pitch together at a that you don't hurt yourself underwater. So to go to pitch down, we'd have to reevaluate that. You could shrink it somewhat. That I don't know. You know, if you throw out a number like 1,000 feet, I can't tell you at this moment where you'd fall. That's you know, a pretty good chunk. You could try to shrink something like this down.
It's just like from C11 to C12. Like it went from 71 to 89. Like it's such a huge increase, but yet the designs, like,
Well, that's because you have the separate diving
I
well.
understand there's a whole separate.
Yeah, because you have this whole separate diving well with that, and you know.
But if you could maybe shrink it a little bit, that would solve everyone's concern.
I don't think that's necessarily true. I think C12 is a pretty good combination, because it would not, even if you're suggesting to shrink it a little bit, we would still have that, like, used for one purpose space there, in the, like, well, where the slide and the diving board is. And it is still a pretty big, area of grass that needs to be taken away from that. So, yeah,
Yeah,
and,
but watch the grass.
right, you know, we have a limited amount of space that
When
we're.
we eliminate the diving board?
I don't
I'm
think,
concerned about this.
I think C12 is better than trying to shrink C11. And if your concern again is the diving on C12, that's my recommendation. But you can do that. You can use 2 lanes if the management staffs it and so that to make sure it's safe. We just don't recommend it to be used that way, but you can use it that way.
yeah, there's nothing preventing us from
Can
using
you
it.
offset the diving board and make it closer to the left? Like, does diving board have to be totally centered in that square, or can it be moved to the left? We got plenty of room.
Well, your dive starts to get in the way of your platforms, and we have, you know, you don't want to be when you're on a platform crammed up against the dive stand. It's very distracting and takes away your space. So that's why we have that space. And actually what we would do is just increase the center space a little bit to bring your blue line closer to that rope so that you're not in that other
Emily, you
with the
had
diving
something.
envelope.
So I've looked at all of these over and over again. And I guess the questions when I'm talking with people, some of the things I'm looking at. We are going down in square footage with this design. We are going down.
Which one are you just talking about?
C12 is less than what we currently have. And the one thing that I think that we do see often, and it does speak to some of the comments, is that multi-use space that we talked about, the water releases that we have multi-generations using one facility at one time. It feels tight in this design. It's back to where we have that center area of the pool where you have kids throwing footballs, people trying to just wade and swim, and they're all in that one spot, and you have the slide dumping out into there. That seems like a lot of activity for a very small space. And the rest of it is, if we go to these deeper waters, not usable for people who can't stand.
Well,
The opposite side is 4 foot, so it is in
It
the
is 4
side,
foot, okay.
yes.
So that's, well, but again, if we go with the recommendations of swim team, they want. 6
No,
feet.
because that's at the other end of it, the diving side
They
will
want the
still be.
whole thing to be.
yeah,
I mean, when you look at C12, okay, your main pool is 7,200 square feet roughly, and your existing pool is 7,600 square feet. So you went down about 400 square feet to this pool.
Is that named, so C12, that lounge area, does the total square footage include that lounge area?
Yes.
Answer.
Yes, that is included in the total square footage of the water area.
And about approximately what's the square footage of that lounge area?
It's 10 foot up and down the screen, and I think roughly 25 feet in length.
So we're looking at like maybe 7,000-ish total navigable water area. No,
If you,
that lounge area.
Well, that's 250 square feet, what he just said there. So
And then does the total square footage include, I guess, it would include the zero entry too?
it includes up to the blue line on the left-hand side of the pool there. The rest is
out of the water.
out of the water.
Yeah.
And to address the question, if you would rope off lanes, we'll call them 5 and 6, one being the leftmost for lap swimming, then you have the whole area except those last 2 lanes in that 4-foot depth over to the buoy rope where you can do your throwing a football, et cetera, et cetera.
I agree with Emily's comment, now that I think about total square footage, that we're gonna, it's smaller to begin with. The water depth is shallower, it's pushing all those kids towards, maybe at the end of that lounge area, between that lounge area, then you compress it with the roping off of the slide. I think we're losing a lot of space.
That's my concern with this design. And it's the reason I did like C11, but I agree, it's almost too big. But at least it had designated spaces for all the different populations that come into that pool. And if the community continues to get young families in row, those kid spaces are gonna be even more and more needed. So that's my fear with going smaller and reducing those areas, because we're cramming everybody into one small space. And for us to put a brand new pool in and spend this money and get less than what we currently have seems foolhardy.
I think, Ms. Miller has a comment.
Just trying to, kind of consider the concern, just raised, Brent, would it be possible? So on the side opposite the sun shelf, would it be possible maybe to widen like that left side of it a little bit to gain back a little bit of the square footage?
Well, what happens when you pull that wall down is where you're connecting to your competition area then is getting deeper. So that's deepening that area. You can do what you're saying. It gets deeper as you do it. Unless we put a line across there again, like we did on the other one.
What,
And bring it, it's the further you go, the more complicated it gets, because this your competition area is going from 4
4 foot, yeah.
from 4 foot down to 10. So you're pitching down. Now you can, well, even if we leveled it there,
Okay, well, I'm
just
not,
kept that level 4 foot down,
so I'm not sure how partial anybody.
level 4 down all the way
Yeah.
down to here.
Ms. Miller wants to have a question, and then I think Mr. Red.
So, what about if you widen it on the other side, on the sun shelf side? I'm not sure how.
Well, that makes your race lanes too longer if you keep that wall straight anyway.
But could you
You could like
see in
bump it out or something.
In C11, you have the bump out, so I'm just saying, what if you took, from the zero entry part of it.
Bump it out here.
Took it up to
Yeah.
the pool with the sun shelf, all the way over maybe to the
A and intermediate.
Yeah, where the sun shelf is, you could create a bump out, like bump that whole wall out. It would take another bump out before you hit your competition area if you did that. You could do either way a little bit, not a great deal either way.
Yeah. Just thinking out loud, the only other option would be to have your ADA ramp in, have a slight section above that as zero entry, and then put steps down. And you can't really do that. You could change the zero entry to stair entry and have an ADA ramp, but what I was thinking, you can't do.
Almost back to the other.
Yeah.
Why can't we put the slide in the water and expand that whole square where the lounge chairs are? And just make,
To the left, not for the lap lane, you're talking about moving it to the,
back to the three umbrellas there.
oh, so move it back.
Yeah, and then the slide, people could actually walk underneath the slide tubes in water. And just make that square bigger to gain more shallow end.
You can put that big slide out in the yard and have a run out where it has a bathtub that you slide into. Do you guys ever see any of those anywhere you were out? And remove that slide from the pool.
I've seen them at like water parks, but not.
Yeah, but that's taking away a lot of your grass area.
Mhm.
That's why we didn't do that.
Yeah. I'm just saying, extend the swimming pool to where the back of the lounge is, just make that square come straight over to where the slide ends.
Yeah, if they want to take the
What
slide,
if we,
that 15 foot the whole way across the pool, that gets them 1,000 foot less.
I have a question. Can you have the ADA ramp and not have a zero entry pool?
That's,
Yes.
yeah, that's what 11 is.
That is, okay, that's what I thought, because 11 has the step. Okay.
I like the steps across the whole way.
Yeah, I
It's
guess,
a great play space for kids.
yeah, it's a good space for people to sit.
So I mean, I don't see why you can't make either the northern or southern wall in the shallow end extended north or south.
In 12.
In 11.
In 12.
Oh, wait, oh, sorry. Now we're on
In 12.
We're back in.
No, I'm just saying, in 12. What is,
In 12,
here, from
you're,
the steps to the slide, what is the length of that part of the pool? Is that 20 feet?
in front of the slide. That section in front of the slide.
Yeah, like where the lanes are. Okay. Not where the lanes are, but the other square, the shallow square. You have a north and a south area. Why can't you expand the swimming pool south on C12?
You can, it's just a matter of how far. How far were you thinking of going?
4 foot.
4 foot?
Yeah, and then what's that total length? Because then you're gaining. So if you bring it down 4 foot and that length is what, 30 feet?
We could probably do that if you see this line across at the L there, your rope line across.
Yeah,
Okay, if from there to the end wall, if we just left it flat, okay, left it flat 4 feet, because right now it pitches from one end to the other. If you left that all flat at 4 feet and then drag it down to here, drag your rope line down further, you could do that, and then your deep well would come up here. You'd probably you'd lose that feature. What if we did that?
But that's doable. I mean, if he wants to move the southern wall
Down.
another 4 or 5 foot south towards that single umbrella. It
Still leave you could still leave the one wall in there, so you don't lose the road thing.
But I have
Right.
because right now. We discussed moving the diving board over to
Correct.
location.
let the
And that's
pool shut out 5 feet.
segregate the pool,
That's
Right.
hazardous.
kind of like we have now. What if we move the diving board?
Right where your cursor
up
at.
to the deep well,
He's saying,
this swim lanes to the far right side, and that opens up that entire space.
he's saying,
The
pull
diving.
this wall back and just let this jut out so we don't lose that road line. Just let the wall jut out.
Right. A bit closer, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the wall jutting in there is safe. I
Unless you
think
wanna make it
we're
6 foot.
practicable. We're practical
Practical.
Move the.
to do that.
I'm sorry. Can we
I think
move-
you just have to slide the corner back with it. Then your lanes would be 4 foot.
We have another, we're working with another twist in, on C12 still.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Can we move the diving board to the left side of the deep well? Instead of where, the opposite side where we currently have it? And then move the 2 swim lanes to the far right side of the pool? So it'll open up from left to right on the top, on the shallow end, all the way across.
well, you can move your diving board to the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the diving board to the left,
I
like
versus where it is now.
You're talking over here towards this single umbrella.
Yes.
Yeah,
And then if we do that, when we move the entire pool down a little bit,
You could, I mean, it's hanging out there. About 10 foot. With the stand projected beyond the water's edge.
I'm
What,
not quite sure I understood.
what would bringing it down do? Bring the whole thing down?
Yeah, it lets them green space up on the north side there where the big slide is. That's a slide that's the launch platform's about 13 foot off the deck. So we could put a smaller slide in there if you wanted, a smaller slide like we're in some of the other concepts, but we put a big slide in there because it only requires the same depth of water to discharge into that the small slide does.
Yeah, and we can decide on that particular later, but that might also influence how much space we need. Like if we move the diving board to the left.
Okay, that would solve that problem.
Right.
If we move the southern wall down about 4 foot, it would give a bigger shallow end.
Right.
And
Right.
that would solve that problem.
Yeah,
So
so is it,
move that wall and move the diving board and deep well over to the left. That's all. Doesn't have to be perfectly centered all the time.
So you're saying keep the diving board on the end wall that it is, but just slide it over to the left.
no,
no, we're talking moving it like.
Wrap it around the corner.
around the corner.
You wanna go around the corner.
But then bringing the southern wall down about 4 more foot.
We can work towards that. Let me ask you all this. You don't have to and I'm not trying to, I'm just trying to help you with the process here. If you don't have to, we wanted to tonight kind of get to the concept where you pretty much were, so we can develop it from there. If you're all leaning, if it's starting to sound like you're all on this concept, would you want us then to work different angles of this concept? Because until we lay it out in CAD and do those things, it's hard to.
Let me jump in here. So our committee did discuss this and was going to put forth, a recommendation. And it is in line with what we have discussed with this concept. We, knowing tonight that the agenda was not posted, I was going to ask that we make a decision, on July 1st, which would give us 2 weeks to see the renderings that we are talking about tonight. I will say to council though, July 1st will really have to be the date we decide, or we are looking into this project not happening in 2025, which would actually jeopardize like our pool. So we will, we will continue to have additional meetings as we, and update folks as we have to decide on those features like the slide and a dolphin or what we're gonna put where. But none of those would need to be decided on July 1st. We just need the general layout. Is that something, aquatic, facility design, do you think that we could work with that?
Yeah, it got a little muffled at the end. Are you saying if you went with this concept that we could work some other things till for your July 1st
So
meeting?
what we wanted, we learned tonight that the agenda wasn't posted. So I would like, as the committee and as the chair of the committee that oversees this, I would like to then ask council to vote on it at our July 1st meeting, which would give us the 2 weeks time between today and then to see, C12 with those modifications we discussed. Before July 1, so that we could vote on July 1. And then I talked to my council members and said that really is the date that we need to decide. All of the other stuff about, the type of slides, the fun equipment, that can all be decided, and will continue to be discussed as we move further in this process.
I have a sort of I think a major design issue and a budget issue that if we're going with a zero entry pool, I really see no need to spend $600,000 on a baby pool or a wading pool. I was up there the past couple of days, talked to parents who are using the baby pool, talked to some of the lifeguards and the assistant manager. It's so infrequently used that I think if we create zero entry, beach entry at our main pool, that those families would use that space instead of the wading pool, and that would just be a complete waste of money.
If we do that, we're losing more square footage.
How?
Because you take away the pool the babies go into,
The little
and now they're all in that big pool.
It's like 2 babies a day.
If you go during the weekday,
Yeah.
and the pool hasn't been open that much, my daughter works. She says it gets busy. And quite honestly, that 10 to 12 hour, when the parents come before the pool is open, a lot of them go early, because it gets too hot for the little ones later. So you're missing that. I do not think taking away a sensory space and going with a smaller pool on top of it is going to solve a problem for a growing community of young families.
But we have-
That's a fact.
Plus, our pool's so bad right now, it's so boring and there's nothing even there, no sun protection. When we build this real nice one with little squirty things and sun protection, and it'll be used. Build it and they will.
We have to look forward and not say, oh, it's not being used right now, because whatever we're creating is for the future, for the next.
But
So,
we essentially have the exact same thing in the main pool. We created that exact same.
no, but
space.
it's there, but you're adding all the kids into that too.
My
Big
concern,
kids.
I
Go ahead.
I just think that we need a little bit more data to inform our decision.
We're not gonna have a pool that much.
What do you mean?
Well, there's not enough time to get data on how much the baby pool is being used right
Sure,
now.
2 weeks.
We're having trouble hearing some of the comments. Or is it being suggested to eliminate the baby pool?
You're not taking in.
I'm not gonna take, I have a baby or a 2-year-old and it's 95 degrees out, the chances of me taking them out
You
is
get what I'm
not.
saying?
When it's 95, no, maybe it
No,
is,
I
it's
think
not
close.
95, it's not when they're saying heat advisories.
I think you'd really regret it if you got rid of the baby pool. The main pool is not suited for mothers and small children in this design.
Exactly. Okay, there, it's not.
Well, no, but it's also not, like, I wouldn't let my.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor wants to speak.
Can we go back to C1 for a second? C1.
C1.
Well, what was the first one that's similar to our current full design that was square footage?
C1.
Too much square footage.
Yeah, it's really big.
Well, that's your existing, okay, with no beach entry. And then C1 was that, which is,
In that design, we got rid of the baby pool and have, we wrote a beach entry. I mean, it would be big and that might eliminate some of the crowdedness.
none of these main pools are suited for parents, grandparents, and small children. There's no restrictions into deeper water. They're not suited for that. There were concepts early on where there was a wading pool section in the main pool, but you guys didn't choose those. So, and a separate wading pool is nice, but none of these main pools that you're seeing are suited for small children. They can be a safety risk for that. There's nothing to prevent them from going into too deep of water.
So all of your pool designs include a wading pool?
Some of your earlier ones that were eliminated had wading pools built into them,
Your pool?
into the main pool, but that took away from your play space, and that was not chosen by the group.
We go back to C1. Okay, let's forget that idea about incorporating the baby pool into C1. What about C1? Can you make that a little smaller by moving into green space a little bit? Maybe to make it 1,000 square feet less.
I can't hear that.
Sorry, could you make, it's on a plane all day, sorry, my voice is gone. Could you make, C1 1,000 square feet smaller by moving in the green area?
No, we wound up as big as we are because to have everything pitch and meet your competition lanes, it had to be that long for the ramp and that wide to pitch from a suitable play depth to your competition lanes is why it wound up so
But despite
big. Just to shrink these things by an arbitrary number is very difficult because you're following the codes and then you're following where you're meeting different depths and pitches and so on. So we couldn't, this is the one where we couldn't get it any smaller. Remember?
Right.
We couldn't get it any smaller and have it a floor that is suitable to play on and walk on.
Okay, no, I accept your answer, but the council, I'd be in favor of C1. It's a little bit bigger, but that's going to solve a lot of the problems. The design is, I think, a lot more aesthetically pleasing than the other one. So I would not like to not take C1 off the table right now. Maybe they can bring C12 and make it a little bigger. That's going to be difficult. So if we're concerned about C12 being too small, I would go with C1. The estimate is reasonable considering what we're getting. So anyhow, that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree. Is C1, is that zero entry or is that?
Zero.
And Brent, so you made a comment earlier about zero entry being unsafe for small children because it doesn't rope off into deeper water. So do all the pools that you design include a wading pool for small children?
No, but it's never what we consider a successful design. You leave a lot of people out. Towns will sometimes choose, or clients will sometimes choose no wading pool, but it's always regretted afterwards. You're not going to have the parents, grandparents with the little ones be able to attend or use it the way they do. I don't want to go into any of those.
My personal opinion is I think we need more data. Everybody that I've talked to the pool this week who used the baby pool, I asked if there wasn't a baby pool, but zero entry, would you be okay with that? They said absolutely. So I just think we need.
One thing to keep in mind, and I hear that, and I certainly am never opposed to more data, but the one thing to keep in mind is how you use it now is going to vary very differently. You know, your wading pool now is not a beach entry; it doesn't have the toys, so and so on. So if you look at who and how it's attended your pool now, it's going to vary greatly to what happens when you make these changes. You're gonna attract people that you didn't before.
Yeah, the other benefit of taking everybody to the big pool, at least from what I hear and being a parent myself, is that when you have different age children, you take the babies down to the zero entry in the main pool, and you can also keep an eye on the older adolescent kids in the main pool. When you only have one wading pool, take the babies to the baby pool, and you have to have the older kid there too, and it becomes a little bit stressful. So I think that we have 2 weeks now. I think we should talk to pool management. We should talk to patrons using the baby pool, ask for more feedback, and make a decision based on that.
So
We could hire people to watch the adolescents in the main pool while you're at the baby
Do.
one.
That's what lifeguards do, is watch the kids.
I'm just saying, the committee, Shannon's committee recommended the C12 concept. They did a lot of research and they really looked at 100 different things. And
I did, Mr. Ray, I did share your feedback, which I promised to do to my council, to our group. And agreed, data is always great to have. I think that there are some, like Ms. Schwartz said, we do have to think for the future. And we do have a growing family population. I think, we did hear from many members of our community that they did want the baby pool.
At the last meeting,
Right.
a lot of people that said do not leave.
And I do think that there is value in all standpoints. I think one thing I have learned in this process is that we can go through 1,000 different iterations and we're still not gonna make everybody happy. It's just not gonna happen. And that really, we do need to make a decision to move forward relatively soon. When we're talking about when we're at the pool, right? Like, so I've been to the pool, and last night when I left, there were 8 babies using the pool, the baby pool, 8 when I left. Because I'm also doing the same thing as you, we go to the pool.
Yeah, when whoever was at the pool.
And I was at the pool opening day weekend, and I was mistaken for some child who was not my own, his mother, because I was the parent helping this child who was not even 2 from falling into the pool because of a parent who wasn't paying attention. And when we talked to that parent and we pointed out what was happening and we got them to the baby pool area and they were able to use it, no incidents, because it was a fenced in area. I think that is also, for me, one of the biggest benefits of having the wading pool is that it is
Here.
and it helped our.
Yeah, I can work with
They were
that.
able to say to that parent, like, hey, this is happening, we need to.
Since
move
these
here."
are
And
right
they
at the
told me here,
wall.
like,
Yeah.
someone wants to leave, like, because it was, this child was, it was not great, and someone came to me and said, you're the mom, I'm like, I am not the mom of this child, but I will take care of it until we find a parent.
4 to 5 foot in that short distance, I think, and then it's got a.
Steve, back to C1, you lose a lot of your green
Yeah,
space
we
with
can
that.
hear you.
Don't forget.
In the main pool, I agree that it's nice to have a wading pool. It's awesome. It's fenced in, great. But for $600,000, I can't, in my right mind, agree to build a pool that has the exact same features, zero entry. It has the toys, the exact same features as the main pool. And I cannot spend $600,000 on a baby. I'm not gonna raise taxes someday because we can't afford, we're building these pools that are gonna cost upwards of $4.5 million.
We do have, someone in the audience who wants to speak, so we're making sure they get to the mic and that they can talk, and then we have someone else who will come after.
Press 197 Sheldon. I'm watching this and I have some thoughts. We've had a pool for 50 years. It's been wonderful. Old people, senior citizens, children. Why do you want to blow everything up? Why can't you just make a pool similar to what we have? A baby pool is essential. No matter what it costs. Children's lives are at stake. I've watched little kiddos. I've been living in Green Tree since the 70s. Every family uses the baby pool. You can't put them in with the other children. We also, as Ms. Schwartz said, we need to think of the people that don't swim laps. It's important, of course, to have the lanes, but the people that buy the passes and support the pool are families. We don't need a lot of junk in the pool, in my estimation. Kids have fun. They don't need a playground. You're making a playground out of the swimming pool. Think about it. This has to be for Green Tree. It doesn't have to be Disneyland.
I agree.
Yes, and all
So
of,
you can't please everybody. But if you take away what people have now, they're gonna be damn upset.
all of the little things that could go in the pool, those will be additional conversations. We are not deciding on any of that right now, so that's good to know at least.
What he said though. There is consideration of what you're gonna do. If you plan for it, you have the piping and all those things. These gentlemen can address that. I'm not an engineer. But, I have some good common sense. So don't discount what's worked in the past. The kids will have fun, just like you did and we did. I'm a part of water aerobics. We have a wonderful time. And we use from 3.5 feet to 5 feet. We do combo lines. We just don't stand there. We have all this crap in the pool. How are we gonna do those things? I rest.
Thank you. And then we had one other additional comment. Or I can't see
Yeah,
past
there's
the
a
curtain.
one more thing.
So I did not dismiss the person, I just can't see you.
Greg Tebow, 127 Sheldon. I just wanted to say that my wife and I have enjoyed the existing pool for many years. It's just us, we don't have children. But I do see the need and value for the baby pool, specifically when it comes to any sort of hygienic issues with small children. It's nice to have something where if it was an issue, it doesn't close the rest of the pool. I know you all do your best. I have a dog, so he's not very hygienic, so he won't. But I do like the C12 design. I think, with the restrictions that, modern pool designs have, we're trying to maintain something that is simplistic so that we don't have cost overruns. It's important because these are estimates. And they can wildly change when we get into it, especially when we have the pump house. So I don't know what the condition is. I don't know how many upgrades we're going to do. I know that the closer we can stay to our existing square footage volume is probably going to be the best. If we go too big, I know that there can be issues. So I definitely understand that, you know, although C1 looks exactly like ours, which I love ours, being too big, I wouldn't want to have some issue that would cost us a bunch of money in our process. I think that there's some value in moving the diving board. It does seem like the current setup of the C12 is taking up space that I think we can eliminate. And I love the loungers. I guess those are in the water.
Yeah.
That's nice. I'll try not to fight over them, but they look great. And anything that like gives some of the adults some extra space. The kids can go run amok in the pool all they want. I can hang out.
We should.
That's a big place for me. So I just want to thank the council for all the work that you've done on this. I know it's been 4 years in the process, and I know that we have issues with our pool. Heard about the rebuilds that we've had to do and all of the work to keep it in good shape that it is. Sounds like we're at the end of life, so I wish you the best of luck getting us a great brand new pool, and I thank you for all your help.
Thank you. And when we discuss those loungers, you can be here to tell us which one you're gonna get.
There's one more.
And there's one more person who I did not see. I'm sorry.
My name is Val Morehouse, and I'm at 116 Cricket. And I was sitting at home, and I just wanted to run up here and say that we also like C12. And I'm dealing with my phone the whole time. Thank you, David, for suggesting to do the diving board to the left. To me, that made the most sense. But I also wanted to say, my kids, they range from 6 to almost 13 now, and we've been on the swim team for 4 years now. The kids that are 11 and under do dive off the deck on the other side. So whenever they do relays. So I don't know if 4 foot is sufficient over there because they do dive off. And some of the kids that are 10 years old, my daughter was one of them. She was over 5 foot tall, 10 years old, and she was diving off that side. And I think it's like 4 or 6 right now, or whatever. But I don't know that 4 foot is sufficient for that and for those kids diving off the deck when they're doing the relays.
Thank you. I can't see the left side, so if there's anyone else over there. Arlo's gonna come back up. Come on up.
Here now. What we have up on the screen now is the,
Hold on one moment. We have one more public comment.
I don't believe I gave my name and address when I spoke before. I apologize for my excitement. I wouldn't want anything that I said to be considered improper because I have not given my name and address. So it's Aldo Arcoati, 143 Sheldon. I apologize for getting that earlier.
Thank you. So. I'm sorry, I saw moving again, so I was like, maybe someone say something.
Maybe Brett wanted to say something.
Oh, we have our aquatic facilities would like to say something. Sorry.
what we have up on the screen now is the features that are in C12. I don't know if you have a printed one of that, but that's what we have up on the screen. There's a lot of things in C12 for a lot of people to do, and we think as we're sitting here talking to each other, we're thinking that you know, we could drag that lower wall down a little bit, widen it a little bit, but C12 is a good multi-use design. I understand when you you know, the 550, 600,000 for a wading pool is definitely a lot of money. There's no doubt about that. That's unfortunately what you wind up getting into that, but you have to think of that as part of the success of the the project. If you eliminate that, I would caution you about how successful the experience is going to be, and that you don't have that, and that you don't have that segment of the population with something to do. Because if you're bringing kids of multiple ages, if you have toddlers and so on, and then you have nowhere to go, that's difficult. So you want to be careful you don't spend a couple million and not fill out the palette, that there's something for everyone to do, is what I would just caution you about. And then there's like
You're starting to change my mind a little bit.
Here, I don't think they can hear you in your.
and there's the features
Hold on, I have a question.
for the waiting.
The wading pool, I can't, is it? What's the max depth there, 1 foot? Or one something?
It goes from 0 to 1'6".
And does anybody know our current depth in our current baby pool?
It's on the first.
Not on our.
I think it's a foot in the center of the drain.
Yeah, I think it's a foot deep. 1'6" is what almost all wading pools are today. It's a medium.
Maybe a little bit deeper.
It's a medium depth for all the ages, and that works out because you have the beach entry then.
Well, that's what I'm trying to understand. Since we have the beach entry, at what point does it get to 1 foot? Is it that line that goes through the center of the pool in the drawing?
It would be about 18 feet down.
Yeah, it's to the right of the circle that you're seeing on the slide that's on the screen right now.
That about to the right of the circle is about where it starts to flatten out. So it pitches there, and then it's.
That makes it significantly smaller than our existing pool in terms of the deeper water. Right?
Probably it's about the same size, because this is marginally larger than the existing pool.
Yeah, look at the number.
We could try to shrink that too to save.
I mean, if you look at any of the concepts of the 5 that there were up for viewing tonight, the overlay of that will show you the perspective of ratio of old versus new.
Yeah.
It's more beta, because the little ones would sit, that zero entry would still be utilized.
No, yeah.
And a little, this one, yes.
Yeah, it goes up from 72 babies to 90.
Your baby pool went up in size. We can tweak that down too.
No, I realize that, but the size of the area that has deeper water is smaller in the new design.
Little bit.
Yeah.
David, it's
So-
that's 600,000 over 50 years, it's like 12,000 a year. And 50 years from now, that might be the price of a gallon of gas. You never know, so. And then someone 50 years from now is gonna say, for the price of a gallon of gas, they did one baby pool savings, it's all.
Fortunately, we have to pay that sooner than 50 years.
Well, we shouldn't, because we shouldn't pay for something someone's gonna use 40 years from now. We all should share that equally. And that's why we have the bond line.
So we are starting to, we have some ideas for C12. It was going to be the committee's, recommendation to discuss C12. Ms. Miller and, Mr. January, do we need to do that and then ask to have it, because we're gonna vote next week? Or on July 1st.
Right.
In my brain, that's next week already, so.
Okay, so what I would recommend is Brent Aquatic Facility can tweak C12 based on the comments tonight. We'll get those out to council ASAP, and then I will place that on the July agenda, and I thank you for bringing that to my attention. I was not aware that it was not posted.
It was that.
It was advertised, the meeting was advertised.
But the agenda was not.
Exactly, so, yeah, I think that's easy enough. We'll get the revisions made to C12 and then get that out to council and then place that on the July 1st agenda.
But do we need to do this part of the
No,
meeting here?
no, just, we will not make that
Table
motion.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can just adjourn whenever we're.
We didn't open it up, so we will reconvene, we will see the additional, tweaks to D12. And then we will need to vote on July 1st, it has to happen.
Right.
Okay,
So move the southern wall and move the diving board.
yes, and then, Ms. Miller, if we can then meet as, the public facilities meeting one time again before that, so we can, discuss once we have that, yeah. Okay,
I won't be at the next meeting, but I'll.
great.
Okay. Then at this point, I would like to make a motion, we adjourn this meeting.
Second,
So moved. We are.
Thank
adjourned.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
thank you everyone very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brent.
Thank you.
Bye.